So you've decided you want to make money with your sewing machine. Welcome to my first in a 3-part series called Sew and Sell. In this video, I'm going to give you some food for thought, and there's also a free printable for you to take notes and brainstorm and lay the groundwork for what you want to do. Because while it's easy to say, oh, I want to sew stuff and sell it, it is a little harder to figure out what that looks like and how that best looks for you. So in this video, we're going to look at why you want to make money. Is it one time, replace an income, or something in between? Where you could sell your products. There's lots of different options. I'm going to run through some of those. And also what you want to sell. How to decide if it's going to be profitable and if you're going to like it if it takes off. So as I said, this is the first of 3 videos. The next one is going to be all about pricing. And then in the third video, I'm going to talk about production, how you are going to be making your products, how you're going to be deciding what you're doing, and how you're going to manipulate those numbers so that you can make more money. If you are new here, my name is Tara Reed. I'm an artist. I'm a fabric designer with Riley Blake Designs, and I have owned my own business since 2004. Totally dating myself, I know. So the reason that I created this video series and the reason that I have created the Sew and Sell Project Planner that you can get on my Etsy shop is because I love empowering creative people to build businesses of their dreams that work around their lifestyle or the lifestyle that they want to build. I have done this myself and I have helped others do this as well. I used to teach artists how to work and succeed in the business of art licensing, and now I am excited to be helping people who sew and quilt figure out how to make money with their sewing machine and their fabric scraps, or fabric that they buy too, obviously. That is kind of my story and why I am doing this, and I'm very excited that you found me. Be sure to leave me a comment on the video or on my blog if there are other topics that you're looking for. This is an area that I have found people are very interested in, so I am going to be going a bit deeper. This 3-part series is to just really give you that foundation to make decisions about what you really want to do, where you want to do it, and what you want to be sewing. I'm very excited that you're here. Welcome, and let's get started. Let's look at 3 examples of reasons that people sew and sell. And I know these are kind of broad categories, but you're going to be able to place yourself into one of these 3. The first person is somebody that is sewing for a specific goal. Maybe it's a trip, maybe it's to finance Santa, maybe it's to pay for their kids' soccer cleats or something. The next person, they want to get a little bit of a monthly income. This was often the case when I was a young mom. I just wanted to earn a little bit, but I still wanted to be home with my son. So you kind of want best of both worlds, right? You want to do your thing, but you want to have your freedom and your flexibility. Then the third type of person is somebody who wants to go a bit bigger. Maybe they're working a full-time job and they want to stop that. They want to replace their income, or they want to build a business. They want to have employees. They want to help employ people. You can be anywhere on that spectrum, and you can do that through sewing. If you take the time to go through the process and get really clear what your goals are, how you're going to price, and things like that. In this video, I'm going to invite you to dig deeper on your why and what your goals are. Then we're going to talk about different places that you can sell things, and you can decide which ones sound good and which ones sound awful. Most people think one or more of them are awful, but never always the same one, so it's always interesting. And then we're going to talk a little bit about what you want to sell. Then in the next video, we're going to go deep into how to price. That's often the biggest question I get. How on earth do I price this? How much do I charge? Spoiler alert, there's not a magical dictionary to look up and get a specific number. It's always an it depends answer. But I'm going to help you think through that and be able to figure that out with a bit more understanding of the process. Finally, we're going to talk about what you want to sell and how to figure out how to make that work. So let's get started. First, let's look at our specific goal person. So if you want to make money with your sewing machine for a specific purpose, you're just going to have a simpler time, right? Because maybe it's you want to make money for that sewing machine you've had your eye on. And that's actually how I got my first higher end sewing machine. Back in 1994, My son was like 6 months old. We were moving into a brand new house, and I just wanted a nicer sewing machine than the Kenmore. No offense to my little starter Kenmore, love that. But I wanted the decorative stitches to do the fun things, to make clothes for my niece, to make things for my son, to make curtains for the house. I just wanted to up level, but it was a little bit out of reach and I felt guilty using our budget to buy it. So I talked to my husband and I was like, look, this is what I want, and I promise I will make enough money to pay for this. So we kind of front loaded. I bought it and then I made the money, but I did it. I made sure that I kept sewing and selling things until I had made that money. So that's a great example of sewing and selling for a specific goal. Your goal might be you just want to pay for the fabric and the tools and things that you want without taking it out of your family or personal budget. Maybe you want to pay for a vacation, bankroll Santa, pay for a quilting retreat, pay for a quilting cruise. I've never been on a quilting cruise. If you have, let me know in the comments what you think. I'm not sure. Not sure I like to quilt while I cruise. So anyway, specific goal means you don't need consistent money, but you want to sew and sell for those extras. Then kind of our mid-tier person wants to earn some consistent monthly income, but it doesn't have to be a full-time income, right? You're looking for consistent money each month, not just one time or for a specific project. Maybe you want to be able to cover the cable bill, or you want, specific subscription channels, or I don't know, whatever it is, you know what it is. So you don't need a full-time income, but you want something a little bit more consistent. Your strategy around what you make, what you sell, how and where you sell is going to be different than the person that just wants to pay for their sewing machine or a specific thing. Next up, our third person is somebody who wants to replace an income. Maybe you want to leave a job so that you can be home with your kids, or you want to retire, but you still want to earn money. You want to have more time and place flexibility. That were super important to me in 2004 when I was starting to license my art, because I also got divorced that year. And I had pretty much been a stay-at-home mom who dabbled and did the let me earn money for specific goals. And then I needed to build up to earning a living, but I also wanted to still be home with my son, who was 10 at the time. If you want to plan for something big, you want to be a boss, that's going to take a whole different level of planning and strategy. The next really, really important question that you need to ask yourself is, how much time do you have? Get honest. Take a realistic look at your time commitments. How and where do you want to work? How much do you want to work? So if you're the person that wants to replace a job, but you're already working 40 hours a week, maybe you have 3 hours a night that you can commit to this, or 10 hours a week that you can commit to building some sewing and selling opportunities for yourself. If you're retired and you want to, pay for some great vacation, you might have 10 hours a day where someone else has 10 hours a week. So it's really important for you to understand the time that you have when you're deciding what you're going to do, where you're going to do it, and how you're going to do it. So that's kind of the goals and getting in touch with your why, as everyone likes to say. At least they like to say that in business. If you haven't heard it before, it's a big business thing. Second part of this, where to sell things that you sew. This is next to pricing. This is what people ask. Well, where do I sell it? It depends. Where do you want to sell it and how do you want to sell it? 3 basic ways to sell things that you sew. You can sell directly to consumers. You could also wholesale your items. Then online. Look at these 3 broad places to sell and take a look at some of the pros and cons to each. So selling in person. Pros would include instant feedback. You're going to know right away if people like what you're making. If they think it's too expensive, people will say anything. If you're selling in person, and you're always going to end up with the person who's like, oh, my daughter can make that. Oh, I could make that. But you'll also get feedback on styles like, oh, that's really cute, but I wish it was in blanket of blank theme or colors or whatever. So you get instant feedback on what you're doing and whether it is aligning with what the people that you're seeing want. Selling in person is also a great way to build relationships. You can get to know your customers. Say you have a booth at a farmer's market every Saturday for 4 months of the summer. You're going to get to know your customers. You're going to need to keep giving different options for them to buy, because if they love what you do and they love you, they're going to keep coming back. So if you're not changing your inventory, it's going to be harder for them to keep giving you money. And that's the goal, right? They give you money, they get to leave with fun things. Selling in person is often quick cash because you're there for a day or 2 days or 3 days and you're making all of your sales and you're coming home with all of your money. You also don't need a website. So you don't need to have that technical side if you're doing things in person. Now, that all sounds great. What are the cons? So some of the cons of selling in person, one of the big ones is it can be physically demanding. If you have to make and bring and set up and display a bunch of things so that you're going to make enough money for the time that you spend at the farmer's market or the craft fair or the convention center, it's going to take some muscle to get it all boxed up and get it in and set up. You also have some weather and foot traffic risks. So if you're at a farmer's market and there's a thunderstorm, you're not going to have as many people walking through and seeing your things and having the opportunity to buy. Then if it's a beautiful spring day, it's not too hot, it's not too humid, the weather's perfect, then you're going to get a better crowd. So you're going to have some differences with that too. There's also booth fees. There's different amounts that you might have to pay. It might be a percentage of your sales and a flat fee. It might just be a flat fee for the space, but there's always some kind of a charge for the space for you to be at the event where they're attracting people to come look and hopefully buy what you're selling. And then the inventory needs. So if you're selling in a day, 2 days, 3 days, you need to have a lot ready to go. You need to have a lot of things on hand to sell because it's, take the money, give them the thing. It's not usually taking orders at the farmer's market or something like that, although you could try that. Why not, right? So you're going to be doing a lot of work making your inventory, getting it to the location, and then hoping that you have guessed well and that you sell almost everything, but you don't sell out of a lot, because I would get sad if I sold out of something in the first 2 hours. I would be like, oh, I wish I had made more because I could have sold more. That's always just one of those risks and mixes and things that you learn over time. So now let's look at wholesaling. What are the pros and cons to wholesaling or selling your products to a store that is going to then sell it to the end consumer? One of the pros is you usually get bulk orders. The stores aren't buying one. They're buying 10 or 12 or 20 or 100, depends on the store and do they have multiple locations, etc. The stores do the marketing, the sales, and the customer service. You're making the product, you're connecting with them, you're giving it to them, and then it's on them to figure the rest out. So you don't have to do all of those pieces and wear all of those hats. You can also make what's ordered. You don't have to build up this huge inventory and guess what fabrics and what number of, widgets or whatever you need to bring with you, because you're going to tell the stores what you sell. You're going to show them options. They're going to tell you what they want, and then you're going to make it and ship it to them. So some of the cons of wholesaling: your profit margins are obviously going to be lower if you're selling to a middleman than if you're selling to the end consumer. But that may be offset with some of those pros. You don't have to have the inventory sitting somewhere in your house or your garage or your car or wherever. You also have a little bit less brand control. You're not building that relationship. The customer isn't necessarily getting to know you. They're interacting with the brand of the store where your things are being sold. Finally, you usually have to wait a bit for payment. Most stores pay net 30 or sometimes net 60, meaning you give them the product and they have 30 days to pay the bill or 60 days to pay the bill. So there's a little bit of a lag on the giving of the goods and the receiving of the cash. All right, now let's move online, which is where we are now, right? Pros and cons to selling online. One of the pros is it is 24/7. You can be sleeping, but your stuff can be selling if it is on a website and being looked at. There is less physical labor. You're not packing things into boxes and driving it to a venue if you're selling in person and setting it up and doing all of that. You're going to reach a larger audience than just people in your local area who show up either to the store where you wholesale or the event where you are selling. And one of the things that I love the best about doing things online is you work on your own schedule. So if you're a morning and night person like I am, I do a lot of work early in the morning and a lot of work late at night. And I often like to just have the middle of my day a little more flexible to run errands or watch a show or whatever. And that worked really well for me when my son was in school too. So you can work around your life and your lifestyle more. So some of the cons for online: are shipping costs. If you live in the United States, you will know the United States Post Office, they are raising prices, I swear, every 4 to 6 months. And you're never quite sure what those costs are going to be. You are going to be doing the customer service. So if something gets lost in the mail or somebody isn't happy with how it arrived, you are going to be the one that has to make that right and figure out what to do. You will also either need a website if you're selling on your own website, or you will need to have the technical know-how to set up your shop on a marketplace like Etsy or Amazon or Michael's Handmade. A lot of the marketing and traffic will come from a marketplace like Etsy. I sell on Etsy because they have so many eyes. It's been around for so long. They do lots of advertising and people think of it. So I know that I can get more eyes on my sewing patterns, they're digital, not handmade, on Etsy than I might on my own website, or it would take a lot more marketing to drive enough people to my website to equal what I would sell on Etsy. So you kind of look at those things. So we talked about those 3 basic ways. So in person, online, or wholesale. But you don't have to choose just one. Many people do a combination of those things. With handmade goods and things that you sew and sell, your big season is going to be in the fall. You will probably sell 50% or more of your products in October, November, December than you sell for the rest of the year, because that's when people are really shopping for holiday gifts, entertaining, and things like that. So you might decide like, okay, I want to maximize my income during that season. So not only am I going to have my goods on Etsy or my own website, I'm also going to do a craft fair at my son's school, and I'm going to do this one at the convention center. So you have both of those. Okay, so now that we've gone through some of the like, why do you want to sell and where do you want to sell, let's talk about what you want to sell. So that would start with like, what do you love to sew? I wouldn't recommend sewing and selling something you hate making, right? You want to do something that you love that's going to bring you joy and money. Life is too short to do stuff that you hate to do if you are deciding what you're going to do. So ask yourself these questions, like in your general sewing, when you're not selling, do you like to make a lot of the same thing? Like, do you have 3 dogs and you just love making stuff for your dogs and that's what you do 90% of the time? Then you might want to specialize and pick the niche of, I want to sell products for dogs. Or if you like to do a little bit of everything, like you're on Pinterest and you're like, oh, that's totally cool. That's super cute. Let me try this. Now tomorrow I'm going to try this. Then you might want to be a wide variety person where you're kind of offering a variety of products to people. And this is very similar to what I had to decide when I was starting in art. There are artists that have a niche. One of my good friends, he is known for beach art. You know, you hear beach art in the art licensing industry, you think Paul Brent because he has been doing it for years and he does it so well. So that is his core niche. He always has tons of offerings for manufacturers in that niche. He also does other things, but if you think about him, you think beach. I did not do that because I didn't really have a niche in the beginning and I didn't know it was going to work. So I was more the let's just do a little bit of everything, and I like to do a little bit of everything. So some of my best clients have come because I do have that broad range. They can use more of my art because I have not only a variety of topics that I work with, but I have a variety of styles that I can work in. Pros and cons to each of those. So if you decide you're going to pick a niche, so you're going to sew things for dogs, you're going to sew things mostly for babies, you're going to sew things for schools. I don't know. One of the pros is it's easier to find your target market. So if you're sewing for dogs, you're looking for dog lovers. You're not looking for cat lovers. You're not looking for people with no pets. You're looking for people with dogs. It's easier to build a brand identity around a niche because you're selling for dog lovers. You do pictures with your dogs. You do, all the dog things that are going to attract the dog lovers. Some of the cons of doing a niche would be risk of burnout. Like, what if one day you decide you don't want to sew another dog bandana as long as you live? That could be a problem if you have really done a great job branding yourself as the go-to person to buy cute custom dog bandanas. There's also a risk of changing trends. Dogs is not really a trend niche, but sometimes you might pick a niche. Let me think of one. back in like 2005, 2006, remember when green was becoming the thing? Green everything. We just started getting more conscious about materials and things like that. There were a lot of businesses that used green in their name, which was a little short-sighted. I did some art that was green related. So I had a calendar that came out one year. And so every month had something about going green. And it worked because it was for 1 year and it was very trendy to be talking about being green with our products and our carbon footprint and everything like that. Well, now fast forward to 2025, the word green isn't on everyone's lips. So that trend could impact you if that was your only thing. So that's something to consider when you're picking a niche. So wide variety, let's look at the pros and cons of that. One of the pros is creative freedom. You can do whatever you want because you're kind of the jack of all trades when it comes to sewing. Like I do cute little things under $20, but you never know what you're going to find type of a thing. You can also test and see what sells. You can be like, oh, this is kind of fun. Let me make 5, see if it sells at the farmer's market, see if it sells on Etsy. If it does, I'll do more. If not, move on to the next thing. You also have more potential customers because you're not looking just for people that fit into that niche that you've chosen. Cons to a wider variety is it's harder to market because you don't have as much of a target. That isn't as much of a problem if you're doing in-person events that aren't themed. Like if you could be a dog person and you could go to a dog show and sell. So then you're selling at an in-person event that is in your niche. Gosh, that's like perfect, right? But if you're just selling at a school craft fair or a Christmas bazaar, it's not really niched. So you can have a wide variety and appeal to more of the people that walk through the door. I used to talk about that to artists a lot, like how do you want to do this? I used to teach a lot about building a portfolio in art licensing. And people would say, well, which should I do? Which one's the best? And I gave them the answer they hated to hear, which was that depends. And that depends here too. And it depends on you. You want to build your sew and sell offerings around what you love to do. Because yes, you want to earn money, but you also want to enjoy your life, right? And enjoy it. People are going to resonate and love to buy from you if they can tell that you really love the process and that love has gone into this creation. So if you love variety and you love exploring different techniques and different products and playing around to see what sells and what doesn't, then you might like to do the little bit of everything strategy. If you are passionate about a topic or an animal or whatever it is, you love to cook and you love to bake. So then maybe your niche is kitchen. You sew and sell aprons and pot holders and placemats and everything to do with the kitchen and homemaking. Then you might want to sew your passion. So if you know what you're passionate about and you want to become known for that thing, then specializing can be a great way for you to grow faster and build a cleaner brand. Hopefully you're still with me, but to summarize all of that, I would recommend whether you go niche or you go wide to start with products that are simple to make, that are in demand and are easy to ship. Start with the low-hanging fruit. Start with the things where you can do it, make it, sell it, get that money rolling in right away. Next, consider offering personalization. And I'm going to talk more about personalization in the second sew and sell video when we're talking about pricing. But personalization or kits can often carry higher prices, which is going to give you a higher margin and appeal to a lot of people. But again, we're going to talk more about that in the next video. Then focus. Keep your product range diverse, but focused. Choose a few winners. Like if you're playing around and trying to decide what you like, choose the ones that are selling the best and selling the most frequently, and then perfect them and then expand from there. There is a person that I follow on Instagram. For a while, all I saw her making were key fobs, and they were usually pink, like pinks, oranges, greens. So she had a great brand. It was very recognizable because of the colors and the style, and it was key fobs. She was selling key fobs till the cows came home. And then one day I was like, oh, now she's doing book covers too. So she really got good and got a customer base in that one product, and she did some personalization with it, and then she expanded into something else those same customers would want. So that's a great way to build as you move forward. Then also trends and seasons. Watch for emerging trends and you can put them into your niche or you can choose to ignore them. Again, this is something I deal with in art all the time. Trying to guess what trends are going to be as far as color trends or topic trends is always the joy and fun and game in my industry. Remember when there were birds on everything? And then for a couple years, there were foxes on everything and there were owls on everything. You wanted to be the first person to realize there were going to be owls on everything so that your owl was on everything. But you can watch for things like that. Some of them will make sense and you'll like for what you're doing, and some of them won't, so you just ignore them. But also always look at seasonal themes. Is there a beach type item that you can be offering in the summer? Is there something cozy for fall or winter? Are there any holiday offerings that you can do? Just thinking about some of those things as you're deciding what you want to sell, either the wide variety or in the niche. So I know that was a lot to throw at you. Make sure you grab the free PDF. That just is a way for you to organize your brainstorming and your thoughts around this stuff. And then there will be a link below the video to the next video in this series. Take an even deeper dive into this information with the nearly 50-page PDF Sew and Sell product planner that I have in my Etsy shop. It gives you lots of written information that covers everything from this video and more, as well as worksheets, planning sheets, and things that are just going to make your decision making and running your sewing and selling that much easier. So head over to my Etsy shop and check that out. In addition to this information about how to sew and sell, don't forget, I've got lots of tutorials for things that you might want to consider sewing and selling on my YouTube channel and my blog, and also written patterns and tutorials in my Etsy shop. So be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Make sure you hit that bell so that YouTube lets you know every time I post something new. And I'm wishing you much success in your sewing and selling endeavors.